everybody. Welcome back, day 2. We have Hans and Roz back with us in Australia. I am Jana Matthews from the Grace Company here in Utah. And in a different studio in Utah, we have Damien joining us. So welcome, everybody. We're so glad to have you here. Good morning for those in Australia. Good evening for those in the U.S. Yes, good afternoon for those in the U.S.
Yep.
We'd love to see where everybody's watching us from. So give us a comment and let us know how the weather is there. Or how about instead of how the weather is there, because I hope it's the same loveliness that we had yesterday for everybody. But how about instead tell us how many quilt tops you're working on right now, or how many unfinished quilt tops you have going on. So that should be really good to find out. I personally have about 3 unfinished quilt tops that my mom is working with, handed down. So yeah, those are the ones I've got coming on. So it looks like we've got Belinda. She's coming in from Central Florida. Welcome, Belinda. Looks like it's beautiful and sunny there. And then Jerry says hello. She's excited for the show. And then she has 2 quilt tops that she's working on.
Jerry, I think you joined us yesterday. Welcome back.
And we have Andrea, who also was with us yesterday. She's from Sydney. Yes. She's currently got 4 quilts in progress. Wow, that's awesome.
Melbourne.
We've got Bronwyn. She's hello from Melbourne. Joan from Orlando. She is new and learning. We loved hearing that, Joan. Welcome.
You're in the right place.
Belinda says she has 7 quilts. Did one today on my domestic sewing machine. Oh, Belinda. Wow.
Problem which we can fix. That's a problem. Yes. we can fix. Yeah.
Even if you're using your domestic on a frame or by itself, whatever, we can help you with tools for that. Let's see. We've got some other people coming in. So again, I didn't say, let's see. We had some other people say hello. They're coming in. Debbie said good morning. Hello, Debbie. Welcome. And so keep putting in your comments. Let us know where you're watching from. And again, how many quilts you're working on, quilt tops, quilt projects, even if that is as easy as a table runner or an actual full-size quilt. We'd love to hear what you're working on right now. So day 2, I hope everybody's well rested from day 1. It was a fun, full day. We did do our tree skirt pattern, which we should, if you were looking for it today, I will have that. We were just having a little problem getting the pattern loaded, so that will be loaded by tomorrow, the full pattern, both for the tree skirt cutting portion that we saw yesterday, and then today we have part 2 where they're going to be quilting it all together. And then we also have the Sure Stitch Elite, the video that I had messed up accidentally yesterday, so we got the wrong one on there. We've got that corrected today. So we've got the Sure Stitch Elite with Carla and Nathan, so you can see that full product. Again, that's a fantastic piece to use with your domestic machine on a quilting frame. And then Mark and I will be in a video, we'll be watching how to choose the correct frame for your area. Now, some of the frames in here might be ones we're not currently selling, but you might have them, or you might have seen them, or Hans might have them still in the shop, even though we've discontinued the item. So you can still find out a lot of good information on how you pick the right frame for your area and budget. And then along with all of that, we have our 8-pack finesse thread giveaway today, and then also our grand prize, the cutie bundle. And I'm going to bring that up here really quick. The cutie bundle and the 4-pack or 8-pack of thread, as well as those bungee clips that help hold it from the side. Really a fantastic. All you have to do is add in your own sewing machine to make that bundle work, right? And so we're going to be doing those giveaways today as well. So full fun day. And my favorite part, I think, is going to be, we're going to do a tour for Know How Sewing's new location. We get to see all of that. But I just want to put here at the bottom of the page, we've got Know How Sewing Essentials, Unit 2 through 7, Franklin Street, Mittagong, New South Wales, 2575. They are open Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., or you can call and make an appointment they're at those times. And their phone number 02-4871-3936 and knowhowsewing.com.au. So many fantastic ways to get a hold of Roswitha and Hans.
Yeah.
And they are such perfect experts on Grace products. You can call them at any time and get all that great information and what will work best for you. So looks like we've had some other people join us. Let's see, we've got Debbie Weirs. She's coming from Thatcher, Arizona. She says she's got 2 tops to finish. And she looks like she said later, she said, oh, it's a quilt kit. Can't wait to get that started. Roxanne is saying hello, everyone. Melanie is saying hi, y'all. Shelly Allen says good morning.
Morning, Shelly.
Melanie says she didn't know this was happening today, so she's excited to join us. She's coming from Chula Vista, California, so fantastic. And then Roxanne says that she has 5 quilts to get finished, so fantastic. I'm so excited. I hope all the tips and tricks that we've got coming up and that we've had yesterday. Now, if you didn't have a chance to watch yesterday and you want to go back and see any of the videos, see the patterns that we're doing, you can go to the platform. I will put a link in the chat later so that you can go right to that platform. And that's also how we've chosen our people for the giveaways. These are people who've registered for the event, and you can go back and watch this event at any time, see all the different tips and techniques and products that we've talked about. We talked about our favorite true cut pieces last week, so it's going to be, or yesterday, it's a fun thing to even go back and watch again. So it looks like we've got, Belinda is also talking. She has got a few Halloween quilts to finish. That's so fun.
It's coming up.
Yes. And then Melanie says she's quilting with her cutie on a 15 Pro. Oh, that's one of the fantastic ones. Okay, so why don't we start out with our tour? I'm going to pull Hans and Roswitha off here really quick so they can get their other piece going. So Damien and I will just talk while they get their video going on their camera. So Damien, you haven't seen this either. I'm excited to see what their new shop looks like compared to the other one, right?
Yeah, I've seen a little bit of a tour, but not as in depth as what we're going to see now. But I'm telling you, it's impressive. I don't want to give away too much, but I mean, not only do they have a great retail area there, but they've got an area where they can do some of their own education and their classes and digital events and that kind of thing. So it's really a significant upgrade for our Australian partners and quilters. So I think it's really advantageous for people to go and see them if they're anywhere near the Mittagong area. And from everything I've heard, it's worth a visit anyway, because it's a beautiful part of the southern Highlands outside of Sydney. So yeah, it sounds like a great facility.
It's going to be fantastic. So let's see if I can get them added here. Are we in the right one, Roswitha?
No.
Or not yet. Okay, they're still getting there. We'll give them a couple more minutes. Sometimes it's hard to go back and forth from your laptop to the phone, back and forth that way. Oh, looks like we might got the right one here. Oh, there we go. So I'm gonna switch this. Nope. There we go. So we've got them lots larger so they can show the whole thing, and we'll just be the commentators here on the side.
Can you hear us okay, Roswitha?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, we're ready to go when you are.
Okay. Yes. Okay. We can go to
So it looks like a great big entry area. Looks like we're headed outside to see the front.
Couple of
What
nice
a beautiful day there.
Look at those vans. That speaks to Hans' commitment to actually doing installs and repairs in home. That's a really nice feature of Know How Sewing is their customer outreach.
So I think he's saying this is great parking, easy to get to. Sounds like the sound maybe going outside is just cutting out just a little bit, but that looks like some fantastic parking. It's hard to tell. Looks like they've got that great big banner on the front, so you know right where to come. Looks like they've got those True Cut and Grace banners up.
It's like a brand new building, Jana.
Yeah, that looks fantastic. And right there under the number 2. Oh, we get to see inside the van as well. I'm so excited.
Look at this.
Oh, that's so fun. You can see right into everything. And then we're entering the doors. Looks like they've got their phone number right up there at the top.
It's a nice area for inventory there.
Keeps all the stock.
Spare parts, I think.
All the tools he needs to put them all together. Yeah, we can't hear either. So if you're having a hard time hearing Roswitha or Hans, we can't hear you. But we're kind of doing a commentary over the top, but the sound is not coming through very well. I don't know if it's the phone or just that it's far away.
Okay.
Oh, does he have a microphone on? Yeah. Maybe that's the issue. So maybe speak right into it.
Looks like a fabulous True Cut area. So it looks like you can go and test out all the True Cut pieces. So if you wanted to come and try it out, you've got all those different things that you can try out and the cutting mat. So you don't have to just take our word for it. The True Cut is a fabulous product. You can go and test it out.
It looks like they've got multiple different kinds of frames with domestics and long arms, so you can see the difference there.
Yeah, that's the 16X Elite. Now that has the throat space, 16 inches, but it also has the lights underneath in the throat, and then the lights down in the bobbin case area. So you can see, yeah, Hans is demonstrating that there. That fits on all our frames, all current frames and some of our previous frames. It's a fantastic, it's got that large 7-inch touch screen. It's so much fun. Adjustable handles, easily, whatever you're doing your best work as.
It's got a bobbin winder there.
And then it has
at
that
the
bobbin
back.
case winder, yeah.
I also love the fact that this machine is fully stitch regulated, so whether you're going fast or slow or in between, it helps keep even those stitches out. It's really, really reliable that way.
It's the 19.
Oh, yes, the 19X Elite. Again, that one has 26 100 stitches per minute. So the same as the 21, but for not as much price and not as much space. You can put it on a cutie, all of the other frames, the Continuum Evolution, Q-Zone Queen. You can see the 21X Elite there, so 3 more inches of space, still the same number of stitches per minute, the 2600, but you can, it doesn't fit on the cutie. So that's the difference. It's a little bit of a diva, I like to call it. And then it has that new magnifying glass, the Magnifique. I love that. Helps you thread the needle, but you move it up once you're done threading it. You don't want to sew with the magnifying glass down, but you can move it around. Great demonstration there, Hans.
You know, one thing I see, Jana, that I really like about this machine, it's got that big, tall thread tower, and it's just, it's really easy to thread this machine. You know, if the thread comes loose or needs to be adjusted, the tension in some kind of way, it's really quite easy to do and easy to follow instructions. So that's one thing I like about it.
Yeah. And then he also has several, besides the Grace and Unique products, he also has other domestic machines that you can try out on your cutie or other ways. So it's not just Grace products, but he's got Janome and Bernina there as well. And then it looks like we've got, just behind him is our finesse thread. So you can come and see what that finesse thread looks like, right? It's that 1500 yard cone, 50 weight thread, and it has 100% polyester, but the look and feel of cotton. So you can have that lovely matte finish, but not having to have all that, the lint that often comes with cotton fabrics.
And I
Oh
think
my goodness, so many fabulous accessories.
Yeah. It's kind of a quilter's playground there, I think.
Exactly. I think I need to come to Australia just to play around with all the fabulous tools.
Oh.
Yeah.
Here's a dispatch
Oh.
area.
Shipping area, it looks like there.
Yeah, everything getting ready for.
Then we have our precious metal.
Oh, all the hopping foot accessories. Those are fantastic. Oh, and then yesterday we gave away a free motion starter kit. Again, if you wanted to get yours, it's 20% off with the special through the end of today. That's also true for your True Cut specials. Everything's 20% off through Hans and Ross with it. And so if you're thinking about Christmas or getting things done or anything like that, you can get those stocking stuffers in ahead of time. And then we're coming, wow, there's an upstairs as well. I'm so excited we get to see this.
I mean, how many quilt shops you know that have it upstairs? It's not that common,
Yeah.
it seems like.
Oh man, that's
Looks like a
beautiful
dance.
up there.
It's like a dance studio.
You dance while you're quilting. Oh my goodness, even more tools to try and hang out with. Look out over the window, see that beautiful view.
I think that area
Wow.
they're in now, Jana, is what they're going to be using for digital events. They're going to be using that.
Oh, awesome. And classes, right? We talked about, I think they were talking about having some classes or
That's right.
people come in and try things out. So this is perfect spot.
But you can see there's plenty of room to set up machines and frames, to do teaching. You know, Lizzie, Miller, who's one of our Grace ambassadors, knows Hans very well and has done teaching in his shop before, and I think that'll be happening in the future as well.
That is amazing. It's just, oh my goodness. It just makes me happy to see so much space. I mean, even they can have that much storage and still have all that space for quilting and.
Still under construction.
It's like their new shipping coming out. Let's see.
I
Oh,
think
all the
it's
thread,
thread.
the extra thread. That looks like a campfire to me. So yes, the finesse thread comes in variegated and solid colors. There's 60 solid and 60 variegated and 40 solid. So almost every color that you need.
You know, one kind of cool thing that's a little bit unique, I think, about this building is there's an area there where he can take shipments of product and move them with a forklift from the bottom level up to the top level.
Wow.
Yeah, so a lot of flexibility with the space. You know, there's a lot of different things, everything from just inventory to education to events of various kinds. So it's really, I think, an upgrade in terms of their flexibility and what they're able to do for quilters in Australia.
That is awesome. Oh my gosh, just looking all that looks like its own little show, not just a quilting area.
Kind of does, huh?
Well, I think they are ready we're gonna remove them from the feed. So as Roswitha comes down the stairs, we're not just having a in your ear problem with
We don't want her to fall down the stairs.
Fall down the stairs or have any issues like that, that we're all set and ready to go. So I'm going to add them back in here so we can be all set.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, hello. Thank you so much. That was fantastic. Sorry there was a little problem with the sound a little bit, but we tried to fill in what we were looking at, but or what we thought you were pointing at.
Do you want to kind of fill in anything that you wanted to highlight? Because we were having a pretty difficult time hearing you. Maybe
I hope everybody heard that special, which we had half price.
I think they all heard that.
Nobody heard that? No takers. Okay. Yeah, no, I'm sorry about the sound, but upstairs, great potential upstairs for classes and stuff. There's still going to be some partitioned off for stock and empty boxes and stuff. So upstairs, we got 200 square meters, heaps of room.
Wow.
So we still, quite interesting. So heaps of room, heaps of time, heaps of quilters playground. Yeah, correct. It's all good. It's all gonna happen. So watch this space and log into those classes. And when we get Lizzie in or other classes or come and have a demonstration at any one time, I think we have 8 machines and frames on display. We still got the 15 Pro, the 16, the old 19, and old 21. I shouldn't say old 19R, 21R. So we got machines. We got machines and frames. We can, if you're in the market for a quilting machine in Australia, we can help you definitely. Yeah.
You know, Gianna, one thing I've heard from some of our dealers, both in the United States and even in some other parts of the world, they say, "Hey, we'd like to, have more machines and frames, available for people to see in our shops, but we don't have the room." Well, that is certainly not the case in Australia. Yeah. If you visit Know How, you're going to see the complete line, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and like Hans was saying yesterday, you have the opportunity to even put their frame, especially like a cutie frame that they can put in the back of their car, help them put it together, teach them how to do it, and then away they go. It's all put together and they can just take it with them.
Yeah. Heaps of parking, secure parking. Even at nighttime, the parking is nicely lit. Yeah, it's
nice.
Quite safe. Coffee machine. Drink fridge, we didn't cover all of that. There's a nice kitchenette with a coffee machine, a drink fridge from soft drinks to
water.
Beer o'clock.
What can you hope for more? Yeah. Well, thank you for that, and thank you. I mean, I think even without the sound, it was so much fun to see everything, to see the different product you have in the store, also the room that you have, the excellent parking. I mean, how close everything is, and that the fact that you're going to be able to do classes. I can't wait to see all the fantastic stuff. So one person just asked, are you going to be holding retreats? Because they would like to come from the U.S. to Australia and have a retreat there with quilting, and
Okay,
you'd have a
yeah.
whole retreat thing. So
Lay out the sleeping bags.
Well, we used to do it at the golf club up here. We used to do it twice a year at the golf club, which we called it quilt exhibition at the golf club. So yes, now we will have that actually here on site.
Great.
excellent.
Probably not, maybe pushing one through end of this year or early next year. But yes, we will. That's the meaning of it upstairs. That's the definitely have to get through a couple of more shows. And then we got a couple of months to concentrate on make this pretty up this place, basically get more quilts hanging. We got heaps of signs, but not so many quilts as yet. We always up for suggestions for people saying, well, you should have that, you should have that. Happy to have retreats like what we just said. Yeah.
It's a great idea.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
So I think everybody, whether they're in Australia or they're in the U.S., I think they all want to come to your shop to try and hang out and play with everything and do everything. Yeah. So thank you so much for taking us on the tour of your new location. Again, that address is what's playing at the very bottom of the screen right there. Also, the times that they are open, Monday through Friday, 9 to 3, and they're also available by appointment. You can contact them there. There's the telephone and on the website. So all the specials that they've got going on, right, we talked about yesterday, 20% off the free motion starter kit. All True Cut is 20% off. Those specials will end today. So by end of day, Wednesday, Australia time, it will end. So you want to get them called after this event. Go on the website, get things ordered so that we can get them all ordered and times that you can have them for Christmas, or even to get your stuff done by Christmas, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't want to forget. Oh, what was that, Damien?
Can I just add one thing real briefly?
Yeah.
You know, one thing I think that's really unique about the world of sewing and quilting is that it's one of the few industries where their family small businesses are still thriving. You know, a lot of quilt shops, sewing shops are all small, you know, couples, families who are running them. It's impressive for me to see this tour because a few months ago, I know that Hans and Roswitha were moving by themselves. I mean, they were moving on the weekends, everything from their own facility over to this facility. You know, it truly is a small family-run business. And, you know, I like to do business with people like that. I like to know who I'm doing business with, know what their reputation is, know that they're real people who care about what I'm doing. So I really appreciate that tour, letting us sort of into your inner sanctum, if you will, you know, at your shop there. I think that's great. It feels very welcoming to me. So sorry about that, Jenna, go ahead.
Oh, no, it was great. Thank you for saying that. Yeah. Well, I just wanted to make sure that I did the giveaway first before our video this time. Last time I forgot and I had to do it after the video with a different one. Yeah. So we've got the 8-pack of finesse thread. Let me pull that up here. It's 4 solid in your tonal, colors of white, pearl white, light wool, and charcoal, smoky quartz. And then we've got the variegated colors with that mountain mist. I think it's King Atlantis and another one. So it's all those fantastic colors. We've got someone who was chosen from our registration, who'd registered for the event. So if I could have a drum roll, please. We'll grab their name here on our thing. And Shirley Scott, congratulations. You are the winner of the 8-pack of finesse thread. So Roswitha will get your information. She has your email and your phone number. She'll get you contacted and get that sent out to you. Now, again, the finesse thread is 1,500 yards per cone. Yep. Perfect for a king-size quilt and able to do the bobbins and the quilting on the top, unless you're doing, really intense quilting. But it's the 50 weight thread, 100% polyester, but you too can also be a part of Finesse Thread. You can get those from the, and do we have a special on any thread, Hans or Russ, with the going on with the thread right now?
The variegators are $18 at the show specials. We have them at 15, so it's $3 off. It's still a good 20%. And the solid colors are $15 Australian normally, which we have at $12.
Excellent.
And,
That's a wonderful deal.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so like you're saying, you can do so many things with the Finesse Thread. You can also use it on your domestic machine. You don't have to have just a quilting machine, but you can also do that. But for today, we're going to start out with our Sure Stitch Elite video, the one we were going to show yesterday and had to pause because it was the wrong one. But this is Sure Stitch Elite. This is available for you to use with your domestic machine to have stitch regulation. Now, if you haven't heard what stitch regulation is, that means whether you're moving your machine fast or really slow, the stitches per inch, wherever you set it, will stay with that same stitch regulation. So it keeps those stitches regular. All the Unique machines have that, except for the manual, have it automatically put in there. But this is an opportunity for your domestic machine to have that when you're on a quilting frame. If you have any questions, if your machine is compatible, you can go to knowhowsewing.com.au, and they have a list there of the compatible machines. And again, it is when you're using it on your frame. So if you're just sewing regularly, it doesn't work to do stitch regulation push quilting. You have to use it on a frame. But let me get that video going here.
Hi, welcome to the Grace Company. I'm Nathan Erznosnik, and today with me I have our special guest.
Carla Jerome.
Oh, really special guest, Carla. Everybody knows Carla. They love you, Carla. You're an international star.
No, I love them too. So I love y'all, and I appreciate you joining us today.
We do. Thank you for being with us. And this is an exciting little episode that we're going to talk about, the Sure Stitch Elite. Carla, this has been something in the works for a while. Tell me a little bit about when you hear Sure Stitch Elite. You know we've had our old one, which is, by the way, stitch regulation for your sewing machine. What makes you excited about this product?
And that it brings your quilting kind of that little tech-savvy feel, and it works so well. So you're not doing multiple things at once. You're not pushing down on your foot pedal. It eliminates that, and you just push the start button, and you can move your machine across your quilt, and it will regulate the stitches. So it's very easy to use and a lot of fun. It just takes all of that headache away from trying to manage the rhythm of your quilting with your foot pedals. So
wonderful. I think there are several key things. Stick with us because we do want to talk about what makes this so wonderful. We want to talk about, you know, how does this eliminate? I think one of the things you brought up was the headache. You know, I think trying to do multiple things while you're quilting, that can be a little bit of a challenge. I heard the word easy, which I really, really loved as well. You know, I think that's one question. Why or how might this make quilting easier? There's a lot of modes. I heard you also talk about quickly being able just to turn this off or on. And again, there's some other really amazing things we're going to get into as well, along with a couple last things. I know that you have a couple preferences. So stick with us as we go through these and dive into the Sure Stitch Elite. With that, Carla, one of the first questions I want to pose to you is having to do with maybe what some people might consider the headache in trying to quilt either with free motion or even moving our hands and our fabric underneath. And that is consistency in stitches and then trying to work our foot pedal. Why can that be such a challenge for our quilters out there?
well, it's, you know, when you're pushing on your foot pedal, you kind of, it's like learning to drive the car, and you're pushing on the brake and the gas and trying to get that feel for not stopping all of a sudden and not speeding up all at once. And eliminating that just helps you free up your hands and your mind so that you can just move across your quilt without any of those other options to intimidate your quilting. So it just really frees you up to, you know, make beautiful stitches.
I love that. I will say, if you think about it, I ask, you know, the quilters out there, if you try to complete a quilt on your own, right, and so you're pushing this, or again, the same thing, once we kind of move a machine onto a frame, which is a wonderful, easy, it's an easy, light, smooth process. I would say that even my first concern, if I'm using a foot pedal, is how fast am I pushing that foot pedal for what speed am I moving my hands, right? And maybe really quick, Carla, I'm not sure if this is up to show them how easy this moves and glides on this surface.
And when you're moving it and trying to push on your foot pedal, you'll get those inconsistent stitches. So sometimes they're going to be larger or smaller, and because you're pushing on it and you're trying to regulate your movements, but it's like patting your head, rubbing your stomach. You're trying to do all of that all at once. And yes, you can get in the rhythm, but this just makes it so much easier to free up your hand, free up your foot, and just let you dedicate your line of sight and your thought process to just the quilting and making that beautiful stitch.
Wonderful. So let me just kind of bring two pieces together. Some people will probably wonder, like, how does that really work? So we have our sewing machine.
Right.
Nothing special. This is your standard domestic machine. I would ask you to reach out, look online, or visit a dealer also for compatibility, because that's probably one of the key questions we'll get is, will it work with mine? But what it includes is you have your machine, which is its own piece. It doesn't change. You don't need something else as an add-on to your machine. You would have, for us here at Grace Company, we recommend the frame,
Right.
because this does work with or in conjunction with the frame and your machine. So those two come together. There is a brain. So there's a smart box that I maybe can call it. We put that on the back of the machine, and it's Velcroed on. And on the front handlebars, we have a screen display. And this screen is wonderful because this is really the new piece. This, when you talk about kind of bringing this and making it a little bit more tech savvy, we have our phones in our pockets.
Right.
We're wanting the next notification. We're engaging with our friends, and I think the question we have is, if we're using our machine, how can we bring some of those simple, quick access pieces, right? Turning them off, turning them on, and we'll talk about preferences.
And the touch screen makes it, just very intuitive.
Comes right in. That comes right here to the front, right in front of your handlebars. Now, whether you have different frames that Grace Company has that might have an over-the-machine handlebar, this can be mounted there. It can be mounted out front. This is the Cutie frame, by the way, which we love. It's been an exciting frame to have. So again, you have your machine, and then what happens is there's a power cord, so you do plug this into the wall or into your power strip, and then you simply take from this smart box, you take a plug and it plugs into your foot pedal. Now again, we're not going to show all those details, but it's fairly easy to put together because of that.
Oh, very easy to put together, and don't let it intimidate you. It is so simple and easy to use and to set up. It'll blow your mind.
Now with that, maybe Carla, share with this. Okay, so kind of to confirm, it's easy because we have the box, we have our display, we plug it in, and we plug it into the foot pedal port of your machine.
Right.
And I know that this new one also allows us to use certain features, like I think certain machines might have cutters and we can activate those kind of things. Again, we're not here to go through all the details specific to your machine, but I would recommend, again, look online on our website, give our customer service members a call or call your dealer. They can walk through more. We will show you a lot of the wonderful features here as we move into this, but again, that's the setup. Put your machine on here, plug it in, and we're ready to go. Now, Carla, you mentioned beautiful stitches, and it makes this easier. So now we're not having to, again, pat her tummy or pat her head and remember, we don't have to worry about two things at one time, foot pedal and motion. Would you mind just doing a quick demonstration by turning this on and then just moving it here a little bit across the surface to show us how smooth and how easy
I would love to, because you know quilting is my thing. I love doing that. So you want to make sure that your presser foot is down, very important, and that we just turn on the start, and you'll see that the needle starts moving up and down. But see, I don't have to push on that foot pedal. I can just glide across and just concentrate on my beautiful stitches. Or my design, and that's a special feature.
We hear a little bit of a beeping, and somebody might say, was there a beeping? And we'll talk about that maybe here in just a minute about what we were hearing. So, Carla, really quick again, I noticed you weren't having to hold yourself with your foot pedal. Even if you're sitting down, you're not having to worry about moving. You can just focus on the handles.
Right, and I could just glide across at an even pace. So I wasn't trying to guess, I'm pushing on my foot pedal, so I need to speed up my movement. Or I'm slowing down, so I need to slow down my movements. So it just eliminates all that little guesswork. And it really does help make your stitches nice and consistent.
And I like that because really, outside of giving you confidence to begin with, which is I don't have to worry about doing multiple things.
Right.
And we talked about that helping replace the foot pedal. That's kind of the no-brainer process and what everybody loves. Now we're talking stitch regulation, so creating consistent size stitches for you. As you move, we heard the machine speed up a little bit.
Right.
As we slow down, it slowed down. And I liked one of the things you talk about is that it helps make those beautiful stitches.
Right.
And I would ask you, as a quilter, as you've done several different projects, I know you use manual, we use stitch regulation, talking with our quilters, what is it that they will receive, or meaning what kind of confidence does it build by giving them stitch regulation in their system with something like the SureStitch Elite?
Well, it allows you to really, like I said, concentrate on working on making your design beautiful all the way across. So, you know, you don't have to worry about how fast you're moving it, because the machine's going to speed up. And you don't have to worry about how slow you're going, because you can do it at your pace and at your speed. And that's really how you're going to develop that confidence, knowing that, hey, I can move as slow as I want because I'm just learning a design, or I can speed it up a little bit because I know the design more, and it's going to keep my stitches nice and consistent. And that really helps build that confidence. And the more you understand and the more you quilt, the more you love.
I really like that. One of the things that made me think about is I have one unfinished quilt, or Carly, you might have two.
Well, a lot,
You might
okay?
have three. Think about that. If you have your unfinished quilts, one of the things that stops people, usually there's two things that when I think about in general,
Right.
like I'm going to think about my machine and I'm like, wow, managing this fabric is kind of going to be difficult.
Very
Or
intimidating.
yeah, intimidating. I do the straight lines maybe. So think about that. Is that somewhere where you're at? Are you feeling like, wow, I would love to get into them if I maybe had a tool that made it easier? So then we say the frame helps with the motion,
Right.
okay, and it helps manage fabric. To me, the next biggest, and this has just been, you know, I've been in this industry for 15 years, and one of the things that I know when quilters come up to this is first, they're like, oh, I can't do this, right? And it's this
Right.
bit of, I'm not sure how well or what my design is going to be. But I think number one is, do I feel like I can manage the machine? And then really, it's the stitching
Right.
of the machine. And so the thing I like to kind of have you think about is, if somebody now had an ability to then stitch regulate their machine, how do you feel that, what kind of position do you feel that puts them in as a quilter now? Is there an empowerment? Is there, we kind of talked about that, but do you feel like someone would now be able to get through more quilts in less time? Like what are some of the
absolutely.
advantages of then stitch regulating your machine?
Yeah, it does. It just frees you up to concentrate and work through your quilts that much faster, because you're eliminating some of the processes that, you know, really are inhibiting your way of quilting, and it does free you up. So you can crank through the quilts as fast or as slow as you want at your pace, and enjoy the process, because it is freeing.
I love that. Or as detailed,
Right,
or not
as-
as
yes.
detailed, right? And I know there's a lot of other things like ruler work
Oh,
is another one,
absolutely, yeah.
using lasers, and I feel like, again, you're adding another process. So if we don't have to worry about the machine,
Right.
and we can turn it on and then it regulates, it's just, again, it gives you that like literally immediate confidence.
Yes.
Now, I remember you worked with one of our employees here, I want to say it was last fall, and we did some things with this kind of a setup, and we did stitch regulation on it, and it was LJ, and I remember her starting, and I'm remembering the video, she kind of didn't want to stop, right?
No, she really enjoyed it, and it does. It brings that enjoyment back to quilting and just takes away those little challenges that you face. And what's not to love? It just really is a lot of fun.
Wonderful. Thank you, Carla. So again, if you're here and you're watching and we're talking again about the SureStitch Elite, which is a brand new stitch regulator here by the Grace Company. We do have our original SureStitch.
Yeah.
Still a wonderful product. We are going to keep that one. This one's the next level. I think you talked about a little more technologically advanced. It's a
Right.
little bit more, you know, it has these new features that we'll talk
It does
about.
have some great new features, but the old one, God, it's kind of like that mother figure that, you know, it's refined this little baby, and this baby's this new generation of quilting, and it brings that in there. And I, you know, when we first introduced the SureStitch, I didn't understand it. And now that I understand how it works, I just love it. And it's so important to help you with your quilting. So
Wonderful.
fun.
So let's talk about some of these wonderful features.
Okay.
One of those things I think is how easy it is to access or
Right.
to choose specific options. And there are a few modes. So maybe if you'll just talk to our audience, what are some of the modes that it has? And maybe you can just verbally tell us why might you use one of those modes differently. So it does have a few different modes than our old one,
Right.
our current original SureStitch as the Elite. And so tell us a little bit about that.
So it gives you a manual mode and a stitch regulated mode. And you say, well, why would you ever want to choose a manual mode? Well, you never know. You never know when it calls for a manual mode. When you move to a long arm, you get 3 different modes. So this just kind of brings it up a step. So
Maybe if I can, so one of the things I just heard you say, and I love this is a way, kind of a way to elevate your machine
Right.
closer to that long arm function. So also, I know if there's manual and then there's the regulated, maybe we can take a quick shot at the screen and maybe you can show us, because I believe there's some presets or there's some other functions with that.
Right here, you see the presets. You have 2 SPIs and 5 and 8. And so those are the machine speed settings. So you can, use the presets, or you can set it by yourself using the plus or the minus. So it's just very easy, and you just have to touch the screen to raise it up or lower it down.
Now, I believe in manual we have that same option where we can do a couple presets. So like if I want the machine to sew at 20%,
Right.
we can just quickly go to the 20% or...
And you have a setting where you can, regulate how fast the needle is moving up and down, which is really nice because on particular stitches, it may call for a little tighter stitch, so you may want it to go up and down a little faster or a little slower if you want it separated. So
Yeah, I like to talk about, if I go and talk about doing a grape or I need to go
Right.
fill a space, right? Instead
Right.
of having to move our machine around, we can let that machine work at
Yeah.
that speed to fill it in, which
Right.
really helps. Oh, wonderful. Also, outside of that, a couple other things. We talk about the touchscreen. Now, because we have this separate screen, we're able to bring some other things. One of those is I did hear it beeping when you started
Yes.
moving the machine. And why would it beep at you? Our old one didn't beep. It did have a screen, a little LED that showed you. This one has, I think, both a screen that's showing us, and then it has an audible sound.
Right.
What are those sounds telling us when we hear
There
that
are a couple
beep?
different sounds. One is called the overspeed. And with any machine, you can move the machine faster than it can actually sew. And then it will beep at you, and that is what we call the overspeed. So that you can really help to make your stitches nice and regulated by listening and working with the Sure Stitch Elite. So that will really help. Then, a great new feature. Do you want to introduce that?
Well, I know this is really exciting.
It is. It's very exciting.
That there are some challenges that exist in general wall
Yes.
quilting. When a quilter walks up and they decide to put their hands on this, one of the first things we always have a customer do. And let me go ahead and let me just quickly cut this here. In fact, maybe you hit
Right,
the cutter
I'll
right there. There we
No,
go. So one of the things they do is they're like, oh, this is really, really great. And they start moving down. And all of a sudden, because we have the machine, is we run out of space.
Yeah.
Now, that's not a problem. One of the great things about a frame like this is you can still work within the space, and the fabric actually helps stay out of the way. So you
Right.
actually end up with a little bit more finished quilting space on a frame like this than without it. But then you move to the back. So this is our workspace. But what we find is that customers end up not quite knowing. So I have taught people, hey, take a piece of thread, or you might
Right.
say put some tape
Tape.
across. But we have a feature, Carla. And that feature that actually is taking some technology that you probably will be familiar with out there with cars and other things, is it does create a barrier. And this is an invisible barrier that we
Right.
call edge warning. And so why don't you talk a little bit about what edge warning is meant to do, and then let's go ahead and walk through the process to engage it on this.
Okay.
And then let's show people how that works.
Edge warning is to keep you away from the edge and bumping into it and messing up your design. And it came about when a cute little lady came to me at a show, and she says, man, why didn't you tell me I was going to keep bumping into the back of my machine? I didn't have that much quilting area. She was really frustrated with me. And I tried to warn her, but then we came back, and then all of a sudden we were talking, and I thought, well, why can't we add an edge warning to beep at us and let us know that we're getting close to that edge so we don't mess up that design and it doesn't become frustrating for the customers? Well, lo and behold, we have.
So let's talk about what that is really quick. So edge warning, what is
Right.
edge warning? This is new, exclusive to Grace Company products. We have
Right.
this right now in the Sure Stitch Elite. And again, I like this is where the technology can come out,
Yes.
right? We can program features and functions. So right now, as this machine moves, and the customer's like, oh, I'm bumping into the rail, I'm
Right.
bumping into my machine. I wish the system could warn me that I'm getting closer. So think about your car. If you've ever backed up and you hear, or you ever get close and your car starts going beep, beep, beep,
Right.
beep, 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 right? So there's this caution warning that has been built in, and you can set that space specific to your machine and the area that it's working in, so that if you start to get close, you're going to hear an audible, and we'll see a visual notation on the screen going, hey, you're getting closer. So why don't you go ahead and walk us through the quick process. Let's define the space, and then I would love to hear and see this in action.
So it's right up here. You see this little wheel? That is your setting screen.
Setting
so
button?
you're just gonna just tap on that, and you'll notice that you have all these different settings. You have display settings, machine settings, and we're going to tap on the tool settings right here. And that's going to give us some cool new features on this. You see a measure tool.
Yeah, so right here, other things we'll talk about in a minute, but measure,
and a
what else?
calculator and
Calculator.
edge warning. I'm going to tap on that. So I'm just going to move my machine to the upper left. Notice that I have the upper left
So
here.
it says upper left on the screen, so you're going to move up to the upper left edge of your quilt space.
Right, and that's as far as I can go. And I'm going to tap right here on the upper left. So just going to tap on that, and I've set that. So I'm just going to move down here to my lower right.
Okay, so again, it asked you to go to the upper left, so we went to the upper edge of our quilt space. Now we're going to go down to the bottom right.
And I'm going to tap on that. And now I can set the setting a 1/2 inch or 1 inch for my warning.
So again, what this means is if the machine is getting close, we can tell it how far before the machine gets to that space that it starts to warn us. Okay,
and I'm just going to tap on the 1/2, and then we'll just get back into our main screen, and we're back here, and we'll just turn it on.
So she's quilting, and as she starts to get, the machine gets closer and closer, we can hear, and you can see when you get close, it starts to get a little bit more consistent and louder. So again, this is amazing. This has never been done, by the way, not on a machine and not in stitch regulations. So
it's very cool.
This is the part when I do this and people, you get the flat spots or you run out of space, and this is audibly now, now telling us, by the way, you're getting close, and it doesn't mean you're there. Because it starts to get a little bit, the beats get closer together, right? And
you can have a bigger gap and set the 1 inch rather than the 1/2 inch. It's just all up to you, and maybe on how big your design is, maybe that's going to be your setting. So yeah, it's very cool, and it's a lot of fun, and boy, is it going to relieve that headache of bumping into the back or the front of your machine and pushing it forward and hitting your needle and having your needle come out. Oh boy, all those headaches that I have done, you will not miss at all.
Wonderful. And with that, the great thing, Carla, is it works from the front to the back of the frame, and it works left to right. On a hoop frame especially, think if this was completely covered, you can't see, so it also gives you that audible warning when you're getting close to your side. So I will tell you, that's one of the amazing patented features that we actually have in this product, in the SureStitch Elite, is an ability for it to manage that. So we're really excited. A couple last things as we kind of conclude here, Carla, with our guests that are joining us. It's really wonderful. It does come, and you can set your preferences, but more importantly, it's all complete in the box. So I think cords are included, power supply, the main smart box, and the display and those cables for you to be able to get set up with it. And so Carla, as we kind of go through this, when I was talking to you here the other day, I really like a couple of these pieces, and maybe if I can go through those and then have you conclude with our quilters and why we would encourage them to go out and take a look at the SureStitch Elite. I know we started off again with the no foot pedal, right? Making it easier so we're not having to think about doing multiple processes at the same time. The other thing, which is really more important than even that, is the quality of your stitch. And the stitch regulation now that's being added to it. You mentioned easy. Right? So it was easy for us to use, easy to set up, easier to use with your system. I think we talked about, and I love the demonstration, that there are different modes and also preferences that we have with that, so you can choose kind of what works best for you, right? What works best for your designs. We talked about that amazing edge warning. That is pretty cool, by the way. That's amazing that it can give you your space and keep you within that space. Not only does it regulate it, but now it helps audibly and visually tell you where you're at, ultimately helping you become, I think, a better quilter with that.
Absolutely.
So what would be any of the last words you would share with our quilters as they're watching this and able to see this amazing SureStitch Elite?
Oh, it's just really exciting to be able to bring technology that you inspired, because this was inspired by a sweet quilter. And you know, you are what keeps us going. You quilters out there, and you do inspire us so much, and we appreciate it. And so we're looking forward to all your great ideas and thoughts, and you'll love the new SureStitch Elite. It's built-in capabilities. It will just make you and give you the confidence to become a better quilter.
Wonderful. My last call to action is, again, if you think about you want a no-hassle quilting experience, you want better, prettier stitches, there's an easy, simple way that gives you your personal preferences. Go take a look, find a dealer, call us. at our 1-800-264-0644. Log on to graceframe.com. Again, at the end, I'll just remind you, we'd love for you to leave a comment if you have questions or want to comment below. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, follow us on our Instagram and look at our websites. And with it again, thank you very much from Nathan Erznosnik and
Carla Jerome.
with the Grace Company.
There we
Okay,
go.
can everybody hear us now? Sorry about that.
I can hear you now.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
I can hear you now.
Okay, well, that was a fantastic video learning all about the Sure Stitch Elite and how easily it helps you with stitch regulation. It was so much fun learning about the edge warning, right? That you can do an inch or half an inch edge warning. I loved all those. That was fantastic. That was super fun. Roz, what do you find? I know that the Sure Stitch Elite is really popular in a lot of the shows that you guys go to, but also people coming in are just excited to use it as well.
Yes, and also compared to the regular stitch regulated, the Elite is so much better because you have one box for different machines. So everything is in the box, all connections, you select your machine, and you can switch from manual to stitch regulated with a press of a button, which is excellent too.
Yeah, I know there was, so if previously the stitch regulator we had was only available to attach to, like what Roswith was saying, just like if it was a Brother machine, it would only attach to Brother, and so you'd have to buy a different one if you were getting Juki. And with the Sure Stitch Elite, it's available with all those different machines that it's compatible with. I know there was a guild group, a quilt guild, that they purchased one Sure Stitch Elite, and then and they had the cutie, and then they would all bring their machines in and connect it, and then they would quilt their machine, and then they would take their machine home, and the next person would bring their machine. So they all got to share the Sure Stitch Elite and for their quilting at the guild.
You know, I can't imagine trying to stand up and run and run the speed with your feet. That seems like hard to keep your balance doing that, you know, and this takes that completely out of the picture. All you have to do
Exactly. Yeah.
is just use it there on your thumb, and you don't have to worry about trying to keep your balance or put weight on one foot, you know, and that kind of thing. I think my son recently learned how to drive, you know, and it's always so hard to learn to do the clutch and the brake and the gas and get that all figured out. It reminds me of this process, trying to use that foot pedal.
Well, and with the cutie, at least that's not so large. You know, you can use your foot pedal and kind of lean with it. But if you've got a larger frame that you're trying to do that foot pedal with, then
It's hard.
then you really are trying to kick it along as you go, or do some kind of contraption where you're holding it with your hand and quilting. So the Sure
better have
Stitch Elite,
long legs.
again, it solves all those problems, right?
Right.
And you have neat
So-
stitches.
Yeah. It has those stitches available with all the beautiful whatever stitch size that you're doing. You can keep that stitch regulation whether you're going fast or slow. Now I know that you guys have a special going on with this Sure Stitch. Is that right, Reswitha?
Yes, correct. Yeah, normally $14.99. It is for $12.50.
Wow.
1,250. Yeah.
That's amazing. So such a great discount. And like we said before, works with so many different machines. So if you have multiple machines, which it seems like quilters tend to have multiple sewing machines in their house, that if you have ones that are both compatible, then you can use either of the ones that are available. And again, if that list you can find on knowhowsewing.com.au, or you can give Roswith and Hans a call and they can help you get that all set. So yeah, it's such a fun item. That's one of the favorite things that we've come out with recently. Just a great way to elevate your quilting differently than you're doing recently. Okay, so our next video. If we didn't have any other questions about the Sure Stitch Elite, I think we got those answered in the thing, or they were, most of the questions were about the cutie. But the next video we have is choosing the correct frame for you. So we're going to go through, this is, I got a chance to do this with Mark. This is Martin, who's our sales director here. And so let me see if we can pull that up and go through.
Thanks for joining us today. We are both so excited to talk about frames and how to choose the best frame and the correct frame for you. My name is Mark.
I'm Jana.
And we have a lot of stuff to talk about. We have several frames we want to talk about. And the reason why we're talking about frames, Jana, is we want to make sure you choose the right frame for you. Because there are a lot of questions that you should be thinking about before buying a frame. We don't want to have the impulse buy, right? Impulse buy can lead you to another purchase. We want to make sure that you have a checklist, and we'll go over some of these questions before we choose a frame. But Jana, let's look at some of the questions that you may consider before purchasing a frame.
Now, one thing I always talk to people about to think about, number one, is your space. What kind of space do you have? Do you have a large room, a small room, dedicated space, or is it just going to be on the side? So that's number one, Mark, that I always ask people, what space do you have? Second, your budget. How much are you going to spend on this frame and other accessories? Because that can be a huge thing for you of how much money you've got and where you're taking it.
What's nice about the Grace frames is you can put your own machine on the frame all the way up to our large 21-inch machines.
Yeah.
If you haven't thought about a checklist, do so, because that is really, really huge on making sure that the right frame is being purchased. In this segment, we're going to talk about several frames we have in front of us. We have a cutie frame and our hoop frame, and behind us we have a couple rolling rail frames, our queen and our king frame. And these frames, they can do a lot of different things. Some frames can do only certain sizes of quilts, right?
That's one thing to consider. Also, how you're going to be doing quilting, right? We've got the frames in front of us. Mark mentioned the Q zone. Are you going to be doing quilting in zones and not all at once? So that's something to consider as well.
That's right. Jana, the other day you were telling me an experience you had with a customer who bought the frame and wasn't really working out. Maybe if she asked maybe some of the questions, she could have just bought the right frame first and not need to buy a second frame. So what other stories do we know of that people have talked to us and we have these experiences?
Yeah, one person, the one that Mark's referring to, she had gotten a Q zone frame, but she'd never quilted with the zone before. And she realized that really wasn't the quilting type of quilting she wanted to do. It was a little bit more confusing for her. It can work out for a lot of other people though. Another thing to consider is if you're getting a large frame, if it's the exact same size of the room that you're doing, if it's 12 feet, it's exactly 12 feet, you're not going to be able to get around the back of that frame either. So that's something to consider when you're thinking about size.
That's really big. My wife, she has a 10-foot frame in our room, and it's wall to wall. So if she wants to go behind it to do any pantograph work or any kind of tracing in the back, she has to crawl underneath the frame just to get behind there. So yeah, if it fits exactly in your room, and that's fine. If it fits in your room perfect, and that's okay, you may not want to go behind your frame, that's totally fine. But consider one of the questions is, do I want to work behind my frame? If so, you want to have some clearance behind or around the wall so you can get behind the frame. So there are questions to be asked. Again, get out your checklist. Size, space, what machine am I looking to use, cost, dedicated.
That's true.
Do I want to travel with it? You can actually travel with one of our frames, which makes it really nice.
That makes it very nice,
right?
yeah.
The cutie frame is one that's been very, very popular. It's popular with so many reasons. One of the reasons is you don't have a dedicated space. You don't need a dedicated space. How does this cutie frame is set up in the home? What do you need to get this cutie frame into your room?
You need a flat surface. That sounds pretty easy. I've talked to some people who said, well, my flat surface in my home is my coffee table. So that's where they set up their cutie when they're quilting. And that's the nice thing about the cutie is it's not having to be there all the time.
So the cutie is 4 feet and it adjusts.
Adjust at the top.
Yep, adjust
Yeah.
at the top. So you need at least 4 foot in length and anywhere from 27 to about 33 inches for the bottom, so for the bottom to sit on a table. If you have one of those in your room, perfect, you're ready to go. The cutie frame is yours. With the cutie frame, you can use your own domestic machine on there, all the way up to a 19 machine, and we'll show you how it adjusts. But as we look at the cutie frame, as you can see in front of us, the cutie frame is on this folding table. It's not one of those special tables. It's just one of those tables you can either get at Costco or at your local store that has these folding tables. And so as we look at the cutie frame, there are a couple of things that I want to point out. One thing that I want to look at is sacrificing. When we look at the cutie frame, there are some things when you're considering a frame that you don't want to give up.
Yeah.
Right? Ratchets. Ratchets is one that on a rolling rail frame keeps your fabric all nice and taut, and you don't want to give that up. Size of quilt. What if I want to do a king size quilt? Can I do one on this frame, Jana?
Yes, you can do any size quilt on this frame. That's the beauty of the cutie.
That is so fantastic because it is only 4 feet and I can do a king size quilt. So if you have space for a cutting table in your sewing room, this cutie frame can go right on top of your cutting table. This cutie frame has square tubing, and the reason why it has square tubing is for our blue clips that have ridges. And so I'm going to get a nice close-up look on these ridges. And as you can see, those ridges go around the square tubing. So that is your ratcheting system. That is perfect. It is simple. It is easy. This clips right onto the rail.
And it clips on the front. It has that ratchet system on the front and sides.
That's right. So the sides has it all over. And we need them on all 4 sides because it is a frame that your fabric can drape over the sides. So we need to make sure that all 4 sides of this rail has those ratchet systems. So now your fabric can be nice and taut. Now, with this frame, you need to have a top plate for your machine. So this actually comes with a nice top plate. And this top plate, this is where your domestic machine will sit. So one of the questions that we mentioned earlier is, what machine am I looking to use? And if you have a machine that you already own, that you feel comfortable with, that you like, you can put that machine right onto this top plate. And now you're using your own machine on this cutie. And Jana, there are so many stories that we know of that people are using their own machine on this frame. Why is that so awesome that they can get a cutie frame using their own machine? What does that do to their level of confidence?
Well, number one, you no longer have to send your quilt tops out to get quilted, right? You're doing it in your home. Number two, the cutie fits almost anywhere that there's a flat surface. So you're not only limited to what you can do in a larger space. And three, it travels really well. Mark was mentioning to me the other day, someone was talking about putting it out on their patio and quilting outside.
What are some of the struggles if you're doing a large quilt on a sit-down table?
Number one, if it's large quilt, like a king, I'm wrestling the quilt constantly. It's going over my shoulder. It's hanging off of the side because I've got to move it underneath the machine.
That's right.
But with a cutie, your machine moves on top of the quilt.
That's right. But there's a couple other things I want to show you on this frame that's pretty unique to the cutie. One is when you have your own machine on and you want to use that same machine for piecing, you need to take the machine on and off the frame. Where the cutie makes that very simple. There are no tools needed to remove this bar that goes to the throat of your machine. So let's go ahead and show this as we look at it. So go ahead and get that side, and I'll grab this side. You can see right at the top here, all we're doing is sliding this piece off the top, and that allows us now to take this rail out. How simple is that? Super simple, very nice, and there's no tools needed. That is just crazy, Jenna, that you can just take your machine on and off this frame as simple as that. So that's another nice feature. And it's very simple to put right back on. Now, earlier we talked about machines. You can start out with your domestic machine on the cutie frame.
Yeah, because you have the carriage.
You have the carriage.
And it can hold an 11.5-inch base. So just think about that. And a throat up to 19 inches.
Now let's adjust the front rail here to show how easy it is to adjust for 19 inches. We simply just move this lever up, and now you can pull this side out, right? And so this side can come out, and you can see now we can go as far as we want to fit 19 inches. And so that space, that is huge. Now let's look at the other part of the carriage system. This is the bottom part of the carriage. It uses the same ball bearing wheels as our larger frames do, but they're just so cute and so tiny. I'm going to flip this over and just show at the back side here how nice those are. So these are the ball bearing wheels that go on the carriage, because we want to make sure that the carriage runs smooth, right?
Smooth. Nobody wants any skips in their quilts.
That's right. Let's go ahead and put that back on. All right. If you're going down your checklist and space is an issue, and that's why you have a sit-down table, consider the QD frame. Let's show them how easy it is to put the fabric on the QD frame. So let's go ahead and take these off. It's a very simple process. One person can do this. All right. So let's go ahead and put this on front. Okay. Go ahead and pull that side. We'll do a long ways here. So here is the fabric. So what we're doing is we're draping over the entire four sides. This is what we call hooping the fabric or zoning the fabric. So you can see on the far side it's draped over, and on this side. So it's really very similar to embroidery systems. So if you're familiar with embroidery systems, it's really no different. You have your fabric quilt clipped down, and we can adjust it. So you can hang it over the side.
And it doesn't matter how much it hangs over to the side.
It doesn't. Yeah. You can do a king, you can do a California king, a table runner. It doesn't matter the size. All that matters is you want it nice and taut, right?
Right.
So we already have the fabric on, so let's go ahead and put the clips on there now.
And we're starting with the back first.
All right, and we'll go ahead and put the front ones on. You want to give me yours.
And this is where you see that ratchet system in action.
That's right. And we'll get the side. Put it in the right. Okay. So that is now the fabric attached. So we can see that it hangs over the side. And with the handlebars, that goes out front. And so with it hanging, I'm going to go ahead and put the handlebars right back on. Grab the back end there. Okay, so with it being in front, we need to access those handlebars, and so we don't want those covered. So we design on the frame to be able to roll it up and keep it all nice and looking good. So let's go ahead and roll this back side up. And again, I just can't stress how simple and how fun this is. And fun may be a weird word, but when you're doing your large quilts and you have the right tools, absolutely it can be fun, right? You're enjoying what you're doing, and then doing this process is not long. It doesn't take any time, really.
And you're getting much more quilts done than you could in the past.
That's right. Okay, now let's go ahead and do the front here. And we're going to just go ahead and roll this up. These bungees come with the frame. They're attached. And it just makes it really simple to attach around. Okay. So there we go. That could be your king size quilt. King size quilt, look how simple and easy it is. And this is just on a table. So you have your own machine on the QD on the table.
The other thing I like about this, Mark, is rolling it up on the back. I'm rolling it up itself, not on the rail. So I'm not losing any space for my throat like I would if it was rolled up on the rail.
And that's a good thing to consider, because if you are using the QD with your own machine, and your own machine has a 9-inch throat, well, we all know how much throat space can be left with a large quilt on a rolling rail frame, right? You can lose that throat space. With a QD, You won't lose that throw space because, like you mentioned, Jana, this is a soft roll that's on top of the fabric, and so you have that full mobility of your 9-inch machine. So cutie frame, again, if you're looking to move away from your sit down or a dedicated space that you want to be able to have it for a cutie, you have it on your flat, any flat surface, the cutie is the way to go. The Q-Zone hoop frame is similar to the cutie frame. However, this has legs.
It has legs and it's a little bit larger. Where you had only 4 feet with the cutie, you now have 4.5 feet with the Q-Zone hoop.
That's right. So it's a little larger and you have legs. So you now have a little dedicated spot for the hoop. Again, you can do large quilts, king, queen, or smaller on the hoop frame. Now on this hoop frame, we have a couple versions of this hoop frame. This right here is our Q-Zone Hoop Pro. Our Hoop Pro and our Hoop Standard are two of the same. The process is the same. This Hoop Pro comes with a couple accessories that the Standard doesn't have.
Yeah, it comes with this table insert that's on the Pro. You'll notice it has the 2 tracks here in the back and the front that the carriage rides on instead of just a single track. And then it also comes with the leader claws. And that'll help you add your fabric and keep it tight.
That's right. So this is the same process as the cutie. So hooping the fabric, we actually did the same thing. So this particular frame has ratchets as well, much like the cutie,
The
built
square
in.
rails.
Yes. Yep, built in. So this hoop frame has these white quilt clips that acts as your ratcheting systems. So let's go ahead and take one of these off. Okay, perfect. And so these ratchets or these grooves are your ratcheting mechanisms. So again, through your square tubing, you simply put that on and that is where you're going to be ratcheting.
As you can see, it's clearly easier to come around than the larger systems. And so if you're going to be doing a lot of pantographs or designs on the back, that gives you that option to easily come to the back. And it can be raised or lowered so you can sit at it. And there's no metal bar in the middle if you're using a foot pedal, or you can raise it up and use it while you're standing.
That's right. Now, both the cutie and the hoop, they're perfect, again, for your home machine because you can sit. All right, so the hoop frame, and let's go ahead, we have a quilt here. Let's just go ahead and put this one on as well. And what we're going to do on this one, we are going to hang it over your side, Jana, just to show. Okay, so let's say we want to do a quilt this size, and we absolutely can. Okay, let's put the back one on. And with this one, we can only put the 2. We don't need a third. Okay, so it's all nice and taut. With the bungee you can get as an accessory, you could put that simply on the one side and now have the bungee so it's nice and taut. So now we have our fabric on the hoop frame. And when we're done quilting this area, you simply just take these clips off, just like you did when you put them on. You take them off, you hoop your fabric, and you keep doing that over and over again until you're done quilting. And these as well have the bungees that like the cutie does.
Has those straps on the on the back. It doesn't have it on the front though, because the carriage for this one has the handles up above. It doesn't do it on the bottom like on the cutie frame.
That's right. Okay, so Jana, wonderful 2 options if you're considering space saving, you want to do large quilts, but you don't want to sacrifice a lot in your room. Your room is already full of stuff.
Quilts.
Well,
you got it full quilts.
That's right. These will be perfect. Now we have the frame behind us, the Q-Zone Queen. The Q-Zone Queen is a queen frame that you can only do queen size quilts. Now the Q-Zone Queen has a couple different features than the frames we talked about earlier. One main one is the rails. The rails roll your fabric, and so as we advance the fabric, you're rolling it on the rails, which a lot of people love. A lot of people love that aspect of rolling the fabric, right?
Right. They also because you're rolling it on the fabric, that makes a difference on which machine you can use, because now it's going to affect the throat space because it's rolling up on the rail.
That's big. So again, the questions that you're asking yourself is, if I need the queen and I'm only doing a queen frame or queen quilt and smaller, but I want to use my own machine, because this back rail builds the fabric, you may consider doing a larger frame because you lose that throw space. We do have a compatibility list that talks about what machines are compatible with either our speed control or our regulator, so check that out. But with this frame, because you can do a queen size quilt or smaller, that may be ideal for you. You could also add the 19. So what's nice is, let's go and take these clips off here. And these clips, is easy to remove. Now, I'm going to just pull one side out here, and you can see this can adjust. So with this adjusting, you now can go from a domestic machine to a larger throat machine, keeping the same frame. So with the clips here that simply put on, that keeps the fabric nice and taut, easy. So we have the Q-Zone Queen with the ratchet systems. And so as we turn the fabric, it will ratchet, as you can hear there. So that will keep the fabric nice and taut. So we have a ratchet systems. If you have room for an 8-foot frame and you want to have a rolling rail, this would be the frame for you.
This is the one to pick.
That's the one to pick. Last but not least, our continuum frame is our most sought out frame. It is what we call our professional frame, but you don't need to be a professional to use this frame.
No, it's true, because usually it's the people who are doing hobby stuff that want to go big at the beginning, and so they just want to try out that professional stuff and realize you don't need to be professional to use it.
No, you don't have to be. So the continuum frame, this is a 8-foot frame, a 10-foot frame, or a 12-foot frame, and you can get a 2-foot extension, Jana. So if you buy an 8-foot frame now, you can get a 2-foot extension and make it a 10. Same thing with a 10. You can buy a 10-foot frame and make it a 12-foot frame. So you have 3 options in the continuum line for your best needs. And again, what space you're looking to put this in and what machine. You know, ask yourself those questions before you look at buying what size of frame. The continuum frame, as you can see, has 3 rails with options to buy an idler bar and a batting bar. And those are really, really huge.
The batting bar comes at the bottom and holds the batting. You can see it kind of hanging down there a little bit. And then the idler rail, where does that go, Mark? It goes up here on the top?
Yeah, it does. It goes right through the throat of the machine. So if you have a larger Qnique machines, you can put the idler bar in there, which makes it really, really nice. Because this bottom rail, when it gets bigger, you want to make sure it doesn't rub on the throat of your machine. So you do have accessories for the continuum frame. The continuum frame also has the nice side bungees right over by you, where you can get the bungees and come right over. It has the ratchet systems. So the continuum frame has a nice ratchet system on the right side. You have bungees on both sides. You have options for an idler bar, a batting bar, and other accessories for your machine. It's a very easy frame to put together. Again, an 8-foot, 10-foot, or 12-foot frame. So you do have some questions to consider when you're buying these types of frames, especially the size and the cost.
And another thing that you just mentioned, Mark, was about that rail getting the quilt on the side. So that's something to consider on which machine you're going to use on the frame. You can use the Qnique 15, 19, and 21. Your domestic machine can fit on there, but again, you have to take into account how much of that quilt's going to be on that rail and causing that throat space to disappear for what you're quilting.
That's right. And also with the foot pedal, if you're using your domestic machine, there is a middle leg here that you're going to have to move your foot pedal the length of the frame to use. So again, check out our compatibility list on our website to see if you're compatible with a speed control or a regulator. Then you can use that without any worries. But the continuum frame, there's so many nice features on the continuum frame, from easy adjusting of this back rail, pulling this front rail out to adjust for smaller machines or larger machines, height adjustability, easy to assemble. You know, the list goes on with the continuum frame.
Yeah, and whenever you're choosing which frame and machine works best for you, like we've said in the past, your dreams can become a reality of quilting for other people and sharing that quilt and those quilts that you're making with your friends and family. So you want to make that ability, no matter what you're picking, making it easier for you to make that happen.
That's right. So Jana, thank you so much. It was so fun to talk about these frames, the differences between each one. And I know we have a lot of information on these frames on our YouTube page as well. So subscribe to our YouTube page to get more information. Also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And again, there's a lot of you out there who like, oh, I know someone who can benefit from this, or you're thinking about other people in your family or your relatives that may need certain frames for their situation. So again, like it with them, like our page, share it with them so that they now have this knowledge of what frame is best. But again, thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.
Hi. Oh, goodness. That's so much fun to watch yourself on video.
No, but it was fun to watch.
It was fun to watch. It is a great video. Like all the information that we go over, I think it really helps you learn. Like it shouldn't just be, oh, I want to quilt, and so I'll just go buy a frame. It's you should be really get that list going, right? Like that we talked about at the beginning. What space do you have, and not just what space do you have now, but what space will you have in the future, and so that you have that whole section, like does it need to grow with you? Are you going to have somebody moving out? Are you going to be building your garage or a shed that's going to have space there? So it's, are you going to add automation eventually? What kind of quilting are you going to do? So what kind of machine will be able to fit on those frames? All those different kinds of questions.
Those are all great points, Gianna, and I just think it's great to give our viewers a chance to see kind of the pros and cons and intricacies of each kind of frame, because everyone really has a little bit of a different situation in terms of what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah. And it is overwhelming to start looking and then say, like, what do I need? Like, will it suit my need now? But what in the future? Yeah, that's all. It takes out the guesswork. Like if you are informed, you can make an informed decision.
And I think we find sometimes that people will find they're not even buying it straight from a reputable dealer, right? They're buying it from someone who bought it, probably outthought what they were supposed to do, felt like it was a good deal and thought, this is where I'm going to be quilting long term.
Correct.
And then something happened and then they sell it. And so then I know that they come to you guys and they're like, okay, I got this machine and frame, but I don't really know if it's right for me, but it seemed like a good deal, so I bought it. Correct. So there's those things to consider as well. Like if it feels too good to be true, come and talk to Hans and Ross with it, and they can tell you, okay, maybe this isn't best for you or your area or anything like that. So it's helpful to, consider all those options when you're choosing a machine and frame for what you're going to be able to do.
Because nothing is worse than having a bad decision, and then you are stuck with a product you may not use.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And then when we were saying, there were some people who were saying, oh, I got the cutie, and they were so excited about the cutie, but they've never opened it up. And so it's like sometimes we want to make sure you're buying something that you're going to use, that's going to fit in your area, and you're not going to have, any of that buyer's remorse after the fact, that you're going to be able to use it, because that's the whole point of why you got it, was so that you could do fantastic quilts for your friends and family.
Exactly.
I'm glad to see some of these comments that from our viewers saying that some of this discussion seems like it's useful to them. That they're either affirming a choice that they've maybe already made, or teaching one another the pros and cons and advantages, disadvantages of the different options. So I appreciate all the comments that are coming through, including some from a clear out in Perth, which is cool.
Yes, Lorna joined us from Perth. I think she's watching a little bit delayed, which you totally can. And again, if you have missed anything that happened either yesterday or today, you can always go onto the platform and rewatch the event. Again, I put that in the link, but you can also go to graceframe.com, go to our events page, and you can watch all the fun events, all the information. If you're thinking, wow, I just don't know where to find that information, it's all there ready to go. Our next video is going to be on the tree skirt part 2. So yesterday we saw Carla cutting that out and piecing it together so she can get set. So today is all about part 2 so we can see her quilting it. So I'm going to attempt to try and get to that section right here.
Hello everybody and welcome. I'm Carly Jerome. I'm here with the Grace Company and I'm really excited to show you, I'll give you ideas of how to quilt either your tree skirt or your tablecloth. Either one. In my first segment, I showed you how to cut out and sew together. You can pick either a tree skirt, you can do both, or the tablecloth, and the ideas are yours. This video, I'm going to show you some ideas on how to quilt it. But you definitely use your ideas and quilt it however you want. I'm just trying to spark some creativity and pull that out of you so that you can try something new. So with this, it's an odd shape, okay? Tree skirt or tablecloth. This is what I'm quilting today is the tablecloth. And I'm going to use the automation. Now you could free motion quilt, and in my instructions on how to piece it, I will write down the ideas for quilting so that you can have those. If you can't come up with a design or anything like that, I will have a few for you to try out and use. So notice that we have a lot of empty negative space here on our backing. Now if you don't want that negative space, you can do, like I said in the cutting video, fill it in with your 60-degree triangles and make it a hexagon shape. And so then it will just be a little bit bigger. I liked the idea of having a star for a tablecloth, so that's what I'm doing. You do it however you want to do it. It's just a little bit more piecing, but it's not going to take any time at all. So let's talk about threads and thread colors. As you're quilting, that's one of the biggest struggles sometimes we have is what color are we going to quilt our design in. And so I pulled out a few different threads and just brought them so that you could see and you could decide. So this is what I do at home. This is kind of my process, is picking out my thread colors. I will open them up and I will lay the threads out, having the strings, and see what I like on the quilt. I have chosen the red, as you'll notice right here, to quilt it because I want the design to kind of pop, and I think that will look really fun. But if you didn't want the design to pop, this smoky quartz would be a really good one to use. Notice that it just kind of lay in the background. It will kind of pop on the red, but it would be a good one. Then we have this variegated grays, so it's a little darker grays and a little lighter, just like in my quilt here. So I'll kind of draw some interest and ideas from my fabrics that I'm using, and that's why I pulled this other red. Notice that I have a little bit of this little salmon pink in this. So this red here is a variegated red, but it has the pinks in it as well. So it might be kind of fun to use and draw a little more interest. Now with the variegated, you're going to have it go dark to light and light to dark. And so it's going to add a little bit more texture onto your quilt. And if you don't like that, just use the plain old solid colors. But try a variegated once in a while, just change it up. And then I pulled out this this spearmint. Now it's probably not the one I would use, but it works and it adds. So what is your color scheme for Christmas? And you might want to choose something kind of off the grid and go kind of a little wild and choose something like the spearmint and add a different look. So all of them will make the quilt look different. If I showed you the same quilt quilted in the different threads, you would see totally different quilts, and your eyes would be drawn to different areas. So that's what threads will do. When you're using threads, use the right size needle. So find out what size needle is recommended for the threads that you're using and use that needle. It will eliminate the thread breakage. So let's jump in and get started on picking out designs and ideas for quilting. So I've opened up my automation. and I've come into my big design library. Now, hopefully you have made your library a little easier to use than I have. And make sure that you're making your file folders easy to jump in and read and look at. But I just jumped into my batched folder. These are designs that I've purchased and that I like, and we're just going to go through and kind of talk about the different designs and how they would look on the quilt. So this quilt, you could quilt a couple of different ways. Now, you can quilt an edge-to-edge design all the way across and all the way down. It being the same design, you can decide how tall and how wide across do you want it, the spacing and everything. But remember, I have a lot of negative spacing here, so it's a lot of quilting that you'll be cutting out and not using. Okay, but you could make maybe a placemat, because I have a piece backing under here. You could do a placemat, you could use it for little coasters. So there's lots of ways you could use up this excess if you wanted to do that. So don't let that stop you from, because we don't want to waste our fabric and our quilt, and it'll be a beautiful design. So if you want to quilt it edge to edge, go ahead and be my guest. And I'll show you how to set it up for an edge to edge quilt. And that's the first one that we're going to run into. So let me get out of here, my file folder, and let me just pull a design. And I was in Select and Sew, but I'm going to come back out here. And I'm going to go into Pantograph. That's where you're going to set up your edge-to-edge design. But before you put your quilt on, you need to measure it. You need to measure the length and the width of it and write those numbers down. Okay, mine is 82 at its widest point. At the center point where the stars, when I folded it, it was 82 inches. So, okay, so I'm going to go into my Pantograph. And I've already set my safe area. So when I set my safe area, I want to say this too. I went all the way up over here off of my quilt to set my safe area, my first one, and then I came all the way down as far as I could, as far as it would reach, and set my other one. All right, and I have my quilt clips to hold my quilt up off the floor. All right, so my quilt is going to be 82 by 82 because that's at its longest and widest, okay? So my total width, see, I just barely have enough room. So it's going to be 82, because this was my safe area right here. And I'm going to put in my 82. Oops, sorry, that was 80. All right. So when you touch on this, your little pop-up window will open up, and that's where you can put your measurements in. Okay, so notice right over here it says the Panto mode. That's the Pantograph mode they're using. I'm using basic mode. For this one, I could use Power Panto. I could use Easy, so either one of them will work. Let's use Power Panto mode and show you what it's like. Okay. So I've selected my Power Pounder mode, and I have my total width is 82 and my total height is 82. So let's go in and now select our design. So I'm going to come over here and I tapped on Select Pattern, and now it's going to open up my library, and I'm just going to scroll down and see if I can find a design. Now, remember, this is an edge-to-edge quilt. So I want a design that's called a continuous line design. A continuous line design is a design that has a start point and a stop point that allows you to connect your next design to. So when you're looking for designs and you want to cover your whole quilt, make sure you're purchasing a edge to edge, and it'll be an E2E design. Okay, so some of these are blocks, you can see, and some of them are edge to edge. And I'm just going to scroll through and find one really quick. And I may not even use the one that I'm going to show you, but I wanted to show you how to set them up and give you some ideas. So here's a little star one. That could be really fun. And it's a little star one that has a little loop in it. And because this is a star quilt, that could be really fun. So let's pick that one. And I'm just tapped on that little file, and now I'm going to tap on Open. Oh, wow. You can't even see the design because scaled it because it was such a big quilt, but I can zoom in on it, but that's a little small for me. So what I'm going to do, and my stars are going to be 6 inches, so that's a pretty good sized star all the way across. It just looks really small because my quilt's pretty big. So let me zoom in and show you what it looks like. So this is your window that if you want to see what the design looks like, you're going to zoom in on. And see this little plus over here? We're just going to make it bigger and bigger. And see? That's a cute little star design. So I could use that. So notice the little stars all the way along. But I could space it, so it's spaced out a little bit more. So instead of them touching each other, notice right along here, you see a little darker line? That's where they're touching. So my spacing, and I want to space it vertically because I want to pull them apart. So then I'm just going to tap on my plus sign right here on the vertical spacing and see how it's just pulling them apart. And I kind of like that even better. There we go. And see how much nicer that is? So if you don't understand how the automation works or what the design looks like, play around with the buttons. It's not going to hurt you to touch them and to see what they do. So just, and I really like that, and that would be a cute design all the way across and all the way down my quilt. And that's in the Power Panto mode. So with the Power Panto mode, it's going to sew all the way across and come back and forth and sew all the way down, and the only time it's going to stop is when you need to roll it for your next section and when you need to change your bobbin. Well, it's not even going to stop then. So you just need to watch it, but have fun designing your quilt. Okay. So that's with an edge-to-edge design. Let's go in and pick out some, or look at some triangle designs for our 60-degree triangle and see how that would look on the quilt so that you can decide the best way to quilt your tablecloth or your tree skirt. Okay, so let's get out of here. That's what's so great about the automation. I mean, there's so many different ways to quilt. Don't limit yourself. So now instead of the pantograph, we are going to come in here to select and sew, and that's where you'll quilt a block at a time or a set. So let's go in here, and now let's look for a little design that would look good. Now this is a block design, so it will have a start and stop point, but a point where you can't add another section onto it. So it's not like a continuous line design. So in that, and we want it to be a triangle design. So I have these little feather triangles here that you could use if you wanted that look, that are triangles. I have a little pinwheel shape you could use. I can't use a hexagon shape or a circle shape because, like I said, it is a triangle. I could use this little fancy marquise if I wanted to. It probably wouldn't look as good, or just this little up-down could be kind of fun as well. So as you're scrolling through, so let's go into our main library. Across the top here, how I have some file folders that, this one has patterns, this one says block, continuous line, and then I have another set, triangle. So there's a whole set of triangle section in here that you could use. So you can go in and pick one of these out that you liked, that you thought would be kind of Christmassy and kind of fun. Oh, I'm having a hard time. Across the top here, how I have some file folders that, this one has patterns, this one says block, continuous line, and then I have another set, triangle. So there's a whole set of triangle section in here that you could use. So you can go in and pick one of these out that you liked, that you thought would be kind of Christmassy and kind of fun. Oh, I'm having a hard time. This is one of the harder things to decide and do. Like this one, this little bubbles right here could be kind of fun because it could be like little ornaments all the way along it. So you could pick that one, or you could pick something really simple. But let's just pick the little bubbles, okay? Right here. Okay, that's the little bubbles, but notice it's not in a triangle mode, okay, for quilting. It's in block, okay? So block, it has an upper left and a bottom right to place it. Now that wouldn't work for my triangle because I have 3 corners. So I want to move down, just using my little arrows, to triangle. Okay, so there's my triangle. And see, it's a 60-degree triangle, but my design here is a 45-degree triangle design. So try and find a 60-degree triangle design. And I think I have some out there, but I just wanted to show you this. So then if you want to change it, and this would work as well. So if I place this, it's going to stretch it. I'm just going to use my 45 as my 60. So I'm just going to come over here and place it and show you what it does, okay? I'm going to go up here, right there, and then I'm going to come down here and kind of show you what the design does. So it's going to stretch it and make it work, but I could free motion quilt that and make it, you know, a little bit funner and a little more exciting. So this is an idea that you can use, or let's go find a 60-degree triangle out there in our designs and see what that looks like. So I'm going to come back up here to my select pattern, and I'm going to come over here to my patterns because that's where I'll find my library of my patterns. We're going to come into this little folder. When you import designs, it will import into this batch folder. So let me open it up and see all these cool designs that I have. Here's another triangle that could be pretty cool and a lot of fun. And let's see what it looks like. See, it's a 45 degrees. So how you can tell it's a 45 degree, I don't have a lot of 60-degree triangle designs, but like I said, we can use the 45 degree and make it 60. So here's another little design. It's a little more intricate, so you could place that one as well. And just come over here, do the same thing, and see what it looks like. So it's totally up to you and how you want to quilt your quilt. You can quilt it a block at a time using a triangle design. You could quilt a little section of the triangles first, make it a little longer. So here's another idea. Notice right here, I have a triangle right here, and I could make it even larger. So I could go up here and set my top, but then I could make it even larger. So totally, again, up to you and how you want to quilt it. And it makes it even larger, but it's kind of a fun look, and it's very decorative, just like at Christmas time. So this could be a fun design for you to try as well. I am going to tack it down as I go, but I'm not going to show you what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to let you wait and see what it's going to look like when I join you live. So if you have any questions, please leave a comment below, and don't forget to share and subscribe. Also follow our Instagram and visit our website at graceframe.com, or contact your local dealer. I'm Carla Jerome, and thank you for joining me today. I'll see you. Bye-bye.
Oh my goodness, so much fun. I loved how she put the thread on there to pick, right? I hadn't thought about that before. I think I always took my fabric to the thread first before I was quilting and kind of held it up and thought, okay, this is what I'm quilting with, but I hadn't thought, get it on the frame, get it all set, and then put all the thread there, decide which one works best.
Yep, it was a great video.
Yeah, and so we had some questions about automation. Automation is available for all our Qnique machines and frames, some of our past frames as well, and past machines. It's also available for some domestic machines. I put a link in, someone had asked specifically about Janome machines, so I put all the Janome ones that are compatible. But automation is a super fun, different way to do quilting. So far this whole show we've watched just free motion. That's what's in your head and using your hands. Then we saw pantograph work where you're following along either with a laser or a stylus, and it's a pattern that you've printed or had a plastic piece down or stencil or whatever, and you're following a laser, right? So it's not just in your head, but it's something that was drawn and all ready to go. And then finally, we've got automation, which is that next step, right? You design the quilt with all the designs and you can go that way. I heard someone say, she said, I love automation because she's like, I can piece while it's quilting and I get twice the amount of quilts done. So
Especially if you're doing placemats
Yeah.
and things like that, if you're trying to create a bunch of different pieces to give to somebody to fit around the table, you've got a lot of individual pieces there, for sure.
Yes, yeah. Have you gotten to try much automation, Roswitha? I know it's not always the on all the machines or frames that you can try necessarily.
Running out of time all the time to really properly try it, but I do like to play with it when we are at, if I get the opportunity to get to a show and check it out, what's new, what can I do, and I try to keep up with it. But all with the office work and things, there's not much time for quilting, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, hopefully now with the big showroom, you can get something set up and play around with it a little bit more when,
Yes, yeah.
when people are coming in and showing it off. But so we've had a fantastic show these last 2 days. Thank you, Roswitha, for having us with you guys for your event. As a reminder, we've got all this information down here below, all the ways that you can contact Roswitha and Hans, their location, the time of day that they're open, their telephone number, their website. They are fantastic. They are so knowledgeable about all these different products. They can help you figure out what will work best for you in your space, or what's going to work best for you in your face to grow, your place to grow, because it's not just about today, it's also about what you're going to do tomorrow with your quilting. And so how do you get started? And that's one of the things I love about Grace Company and their products. It's about meeting you where you are in your quilting journey, and then you can grow with it either through TrueCut or through your machines and frames.
Yep.
So we've got one last giveaway. We've got our cutie bundle. This, of course, is our cutie with our, let me pull it up here, our 8-pack of thread and a set of bungees. Now we've seen the bungees on a couple of different frames. They come automatically. The bungees come with the larger frames, but they don't automatically come with the cutie. So we thought we'd throw this in as a great bundle so we could put it all together. So if we could do a drum roll for that winner here, we pull them up, the person that we selected from our list, our random list, and go, drum roll, and Belinda, congratulations. Oh, and she just said this would be great to win.
She's been here both days.
Congratulations, Belinda. You are the winner. We will get you contacted so we can get your address, and we'll send you out that cutie prize bundle. Congratulations. So, when people say it doesn't, you can't win, Belinda right there is saying she's the one that won, so she's all set. So,
yeah, don't.
So congratulations,
you
congratulations all the other winners. Roswitha or I will be reaching out to you to get that information so we can get it all sent out. We're super excited about that. And if you didn't get a chance to win this time, watch all our shows coming up. There's always another chance to win. But also, don't wait to just win the prize. Take the opportunity, get that chance going right now. Purchase it, especially we've got the 20% off on so many different items with Know How Sewing through today. So don't miss out on those. Fantastic, right? We've got the TrueCut Travel Kit, all the TrueCut, the Free Motion Starter Kit, and the thread all at 20%, and then there's a discount on the Sure Stitch Elite. And all the machines and frames also have some amazing deals, so contact Know How Sewing, talk to Hans and Roz with it, and they'll be able to help you get those items purchased so that you can get quilting and quilting even better than you were before. So thanks, everybody. We really appreciate you joining us these last 2 days. We'll see you next time.
Yeah,
Bye,
see you
everybody.
next time. Thank you. Bye.